Resolution 382, and that is under Councilor Hanson. Resolution 382, Councilor Hanson, if you'll read that one.
Resolution 382 is a resolution in the matter of an on-sale intoxicating liquor license of Westman Estate LLC, DBA Twins Bar, located at 501 East 4th Street in Duluth.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. And Mr. Carl Green. Welcome.
You bet. I'm asking for a continuance of this determination or decision. Previously, I surrendered this liquor license. It was my understanding when this liquor license was surrendered that this would be a moot issue. I would like to be represented at this council hearing by attorney. I don't know if you guys would entertain that or not. So before I speak further, I'd like to know whether you would entertain a continuance on this issue.
Yes, if you can speak up. What Mr. Green has asked is if we would recommend a continuance on this matter. In other words, would we be willing to table it? And Mr. Green, I think that we would not be willing to table it, and I think it's because the alcohol, gambling, and tobacco committee, which is the one that deals with these issues, they've gone through that process, and then then it comes to us for our recommendation on what their resolution is. So by pulling this off, we can have a discussion if councilors want to discuss the going forward with the recommendation of the committee or not. But this is not a board that will open it up to another hearing.
Okay. So I'm going to be allowed to speak tonight only is what you're saying.
So I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You're saying I'm going to be allowed to speak tonight only?
Yes. 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 You have 3 minutes. You have a minute and a half.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, I feel like there's a failure to enter into contracts with me with the same freedom as other similarly situated white businesses have been granted. Clearly, there's no way that 70 phone calls came. Clearly, if we was on probation for 90 days, and if they were having that number of phone calls, we would have been fine. There wouldn't be one alleged charge within that 90 days for violating these policies. Clearly, this is a new business, and the code required this establishment to make $100,000 before it could be taxed. This establishment didn't make $100,000, didn't make nowhere near $100,000, and it wasn't going to make $100,000 after the publicity. So I think those charges are bogus charges. I shouldn't even be brought up on those charges. And I surrendered the liquor license, and even if I didn't surrender the liquor license, it's my first incident, first time before the committee, first time for anything. And how are you going to revocate a license on some $200 tax payments? How are you going to revocate a license on a bounce check that was paid? A bounce check that wasn't even more than 30 days late. It makes no sense to me. And I believe that I have federal rights that could be addressed and probably will be addressed. You know, I would like for this committee to consider this license as being surrendered and let this be a moot issue. But it's your call. But if you revocate this license, I'm going to sue the city, I'm going to sue the police department, and I'm not sure who else, but I'll file a lawsuit in federal court.
Thank you. Councilor Gardner.
Thank you, President Krug. I had a conversation with Mr. Green prior to the council meeting tonight, and he did inform me that he had surrendered the license. And I did inform him that the process that the city council has to follow is that we have to read and make a decision on the commission's recommendation. And regardless of who said what, when, or where, the report was very clear from the commission. It was attached to this resolution that the the Alcohol and Tobacco and Gambling Commission recommends that the license be revoked. And the council is required, this isn't something, the council does not conduct hearings on these issues. The hearings are conducted by the commission. And if you were unhappy, and Mr. Hankey was also present during this discussion, Mr. Green is unhappy with the finding of the commission, then he had the right to 10-day window to appeal this and to the commission. And this was not done. And Mr. Green has reasons, and I understand that. But the bottom line is that this recommendation was passed unanimously by the commission to revoke the license. And if we do not act on this, councilors, then we are not following our own process that has been set up for this purpose. And we are also there will also be no record of this action with regard to any other, with any other future activities that Mr. Green may be involved with. So therefore, there needs to be a record that this, in fact, did occur, and he will have to deal with that, and should have to deal with it with regard to a liquor license. A liquor license is not something that we just is given lightly. It is, there's definite things obviously that have to be followed, and I think this is something that I wanted just to make clear, that we did have this conversation. I did tell him where I stood with regard to this issue as the district counselor. I also shared with him that I had received a number of phone calls within the last year, more than I had in all the other years that I was counselor, of neighborhood residents being concerned about their safety and issues with their own personal safety in regard to having so much difficulties in the neighborhood. And I also did talk to him about a number of police calls that this particular business had been required, had happened. So anyhow, councilors, I just wanted to make it all clear that what our responsibilities are tonight. We are not we're not to conduct hearings. That isn't our responsibility. It is the commission's responsibility. And so if Mr. Green is not happy with our decision tonight, whatever we do decide to do, he does have the right to appeal that in court. He does understand that. Mr. Hankey told him that prior to the meeting as well. Thank you.
Other councilor comments? Councilor Fosley.
Thank you, President Krug, and I'll just make a quick comment. I was the only counselor at your trial, or at your hearing with the Alcohol Gambling Commission. I was sitting right behind you, and I just want to let counselors know that there were 2 police officers that were interviewed. There were certified letters sent to Mr. Green that he said he didn't receive, and there's a lot of issues behind this. I sat through the whole thing, and it was about an hour long, and I recommend that we approve this resolution, and if you have to sue the city of Duluth, then that's what you got to do. But we as a council are not the committee, and this is not a hearing, so we either act on this or not, and I suggest we act on this.
Thank you, Councilor Fosley. Any other councilor comments? Seeing none, we will bring Resolution 382 to a vote. All those in favor of 382 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution 382 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.